If you're a deer hunter, you know that deer love acorns. Deer are going to come to oak trees that are producing acorns during hunting season, and that's a good way to ambush you a big buck. Now, if you got property that you hunt on or that you own that have a lot of good oak trees, then do everything you can do to keep those oak trees, because they're not going to only attract deer, they're going to be good for turkey and squirrels and a whole wide array of other wildlife. Protect those trees. You can even increase the acorn yield by fertilizing them. We'll talk about that again maybe next year, about fertilizing oak trees and some research we've done on that. Now, if you don't have enough oak trees on your property, you might want to plant some. Now, folks plant a whole variety of native oaks. The native oaks are good. The one problem with native oaks, if you plant them during your lifetime, the people that are going to get the benefit out of seeing those oak trees produce acorns are going to be your children and your grandchildren. Now, if you don't want to wait that long, there are some fast maturing oak trees available. One of them is called Sawtooth oaks. Instead of maturing in the 20 to 30 year time that it takes a normal tree to mature, Sawtooth oaks will start producing acorns anywhere from 4 to 7 years of age. Now, Sawtooth oak is a tree that originated in Asia. It's very widely adapted in Alabama. It grows on a lot of different types of soils, a lot of different types of conditions, can be planted pretty much anywhere all over the state. The seedlings are very available. They're usually sold as bare-rooted seedlings. You can plant these using a dibble. Just dibble you a little hole, plant the tree, make sure you don't J-root or bend the tap roots around when you stick it in the ground, and then pack the soil around it real good with a dibble, and that's all you have to do. Plant it about the same time you would and the same way you do pine trees, December through March, during the dormant season. Now, once these trees start growing, they'll reach somewhere 20, 25, up to 45 feet tall. They have a real nice growth form, kind of global shaped trees. Put out a lot of shade. Some folks will plant these sawtooths in the yards just as a shade tree. Now, they do require some space if you wanted to produce acorns. If you're going to plant sawtooths to produce acorns, plant them on about a 25-foot spacing. That means there's 25 feet between each tree in a row and between each row that the trees are planted in. Most folks will plant them in a little grove as opposed to planting them in a pine stand. They need the sunlight to produce acorns. They'll grow, but they won't produce acorns if you don't have the sunlight. Another thing that can shorten the time from the time you put them in the ground until they produce their first acorn crop is to protect them. Deer like to come out here and browse on these sawtooths, and if you allow deer to browse them, they'll keep them as a little shrub for about 3 to 4 years before they can outgrow that deer browsing. If you put a 2x4 mesh dog wire type cage around them, about 18 inches in diameter, 4 feet high, this will keep the deer from browsing the topside of there and let the leader get on up above their reach. Another thing that works good are these tree shelters. These are some corrugated plastic tubing that go down over the seedling. This prevents deer from browsing. They're 4 feet tall. It lets light in because it's opaque type plastic, and it also creates a micro environment that makes the tree grow a lot faster. With these tree shelters, you can have a 6-foot high tree after the first year's growth, where without the tree shelters, your seedling will not be more than about 18 inches after your first year's worth of growth. The other thing that you need to do is to reduce the competition. Competition in the form of weeds around them. Weeds compete with a tree for nutrients. They compete with a tree for water. There are a number of ways to reduce this competition. Most individuals will use a spray of Roundup, 1% of Roundup, around these trees. Make sure you don't get any on the bark of the tree, or you can hurt your seedling. A lot of folks will put a piece of pipe to protect the tree when they spray it that first year, and take the pipe off after they spray it. Fertilize these trees. Fertilize them when they're planted in December or March, then fertilize them again about May or June. If you do this, protect the trees, plant them in the right place where they'll get plenty of sunlight. In four years, you can start producing acorns that deer, turkey, a whole lot of wildlife will really love to have. And you got some oak trees producing acorns in the short term. Go ahead and plant some native trees too to replace some that might have been cut down in a logging operation or some other type of land management activity that have reduced the number of oak trees you have.